Hello, welcome to the Enchanted Kingdom of Hermione. I'm the Lord Chamberlain of the Enchanted Kingdom and the host for tonight's program. Talking to you from the Turret of Pleasure here in the Enchanted Kingdom, the nerve center of all artistic endeavor. And we're continuing with a series of videos I'm calling Moments. Great moments of my life that are musical moments. And formative epiphanies of the past, which helped turn me into the musician and person that I am today. And today we got a big one. I got another story of the older brother. My last video I documented the older brother, Larry, who managed to source a British pre-recorded cassette of the first Pink Floyd album, which ended up in my hands, which changed my life. And Larry was at it again. Larry was 5 years older than my buddy Gary and I. Gary was his younger brother. And we were, of course, as is always the case when you're, 9, we were always in awe of Larry because he was like 14. And he went to do something that was just not the done thing. He was going to go to Vancouver to go see a rock show, which was like, what? That's just like, are you kidding me? Wow. And we were like, you lucky, because rock shows didn't come to Victoria. This would be 1968. I don't remember. Apparently the Doors played here, but I don't even remember that. Because I was just I would never have been allowed to go. And I would never be allowed to go to any rock concert when I was 9. However, Larry and Gary grew up with a single mom who was a nurse, nice lady, and Larry pretty much got to bring himself up. And so he was one of those kids, he was smoking when he was 13, and he had girlfriends and stuff like that. Anyway, we're sitting there playing records in their living room, and he comes in and says, hey, going to Vancouver to go see a gig. We're like, you really? Wow, who's playing Vancouver? And he goes, The Who. And we're like, The Who? Now, understand, this would have been in 1968. March 1st, 68, I think, is the date I've got here. Whether that's the release of the album or the day of the gig, I can't remember. But anyway, The Who were on a tour to promote their just released album. And Gary and I were a little bit puzzled because to us The Who was My Generation, pretty good song, kind of a beat group song, and then Happy Jack, which we thought was kind of a silly song. And then really they hadn't been on the radio very much. They'd had a couple of minor singles, I know, but I don't remember ever hearing them in those days. The Who and Happy Jack were, My Generation and Happy Jack were really all that got played around these parts. And so we were like, why are you going to go see The Who? And he goes, a friend of mine's going to go. I heard, he tells me they're really good live. And we were like, okay, sure, I guess. Are they like Herman's Hermits? Anyways, he goes over to Vancouver and we don't think anything of it. He comes back the next day and we're like, hey, Larry, how's that gig going? He goes, oh my God. Ho, 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 ho. We're like, what? He goes, you guys. These guys are the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And we're like, The Who? Really? He goes, no. You don't get it. It's not like Happy Jack. It's like they're the heaviest band in the world and they're just insane. And we were like, really? He goes, at the end of the gig, they smashed all their instruments up, and we were like, get out of here. What a pile of crap. No, really, they did. They broke all the guitars, smashed up the drums. We were like, that's insane. What the hell? No, he did, honest. And so we actually checked the Vancouver paper. And sure enough, Agrodome gig ends in whatever, chaotic destruction spree. And we were like, wow. And he had come home with a copy of their new album called Sellout, which he had in mono. And we played it, and we were like, wow. Oh, boy, Harmonia City in the sky. It's just like, whoa. Not Happy Jack. So we were immediately, A, completely green with envy that he had been able to go see this amazing show. And B, I wanted this record. And this was roughly about the same time that Larry had built himself an actual stereo, like 2-channel stereo, which he built out of radios or something. It looked like a real mess, but it worked. And he decided that nothing was for it. He needed the stereo version of this album. So he went out and bought it. And so I said, well, what are you going to do with your mono version? And of course, Larry was no fool. He said, well, I'll sell it to you for $4, which for me was a lot of money. And I forget how I managed to scrape it up. Maybe I traded him a record or something. Anyway, I ended up the proud owner of the Who Sellout, which I adored, still adore to this day. Easily my favorite Who record. And that up to then, I was like, whatever the new Beatles record or the new Stones record, whichever was newest, that's what I wanted for my birthday or for Christmas. And I think just before this, on my birthday, I'd gotten Flowers by the Stones. Pretty good record. But this completely changed the game. Now it was like, whichever new Beatles, Stones, or Who record it was. And of course, the one that came out after this was Tommy. And in Canada, nobody got Tommy right off the bat. Tommy I seem to remember it being a bit of a bomb. And Pinball Wizard came out as a single, did okay. And I'm Free came out as a single, did okay. And they very quickly ended up in the file of failure. The 25-cent bin at Cunningham Drugs in Victoria on the Oak Bay border. They had a big box, and they would get the singles that had fallen off the charts and were therefore not really hot anymore. And in a desperate attempt to get something out of these singles, somebody somewhere would sell them probably for $0.05 a piece to Cunningham Drugs. They put them up for $0.25. Now, I bought a lot of great singles in this bin, and of course I got $0.25 a week for an allowance, so I could buy a single every week, which was woo! So I bought I'm Free, I bought Pinball Wizard, I bought Crossroads by Cream, I bought Ride My Seesaw by the Moody Blues, I bought You Wouldn't Listen to Me by the Ides of March. That's an obscure one, but a good one. Still have a bunch of these. Those are the only ones I can think of right off the top of my head. But classic rock songs that didn't quite take off as singles, at least in Canada. And the Who, especially during this sellout era, I've discovered just recently, listening to the sellout box set, which of course I ran out and bought because I am that sucker. I discovered that my affection for the Who really tapers off right about the period when Pete Townsend stopped smoking pot, strangely enough. And like Tommy and Lifehouse and Quadrophenia, they're still great, but they're a little po-faced. Whereas back when he was smoking pot, they were doing stuff like Dogs, which I'd never heard until like 3 years ago. Which, like this weird single that did nothing. Boy, it just bombed. It was never released in Canada. But Sellout was when they were fun and funny and frivolous, writing songs about deodorant. And it was still just like I Can See for Miles is maybe their rockinest song ever. Certainly the rockinest song with a one-note guitar solo in it. And, I've gone from strength to strength with the Who since. But to me, Sellout is one of the great moments. One of the great rock albums. And so that one makes it in my moments list. So there you have it. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the bell. And we're going to crank out lots of these, I hope. I've got more and more popping up every day. Anyway, thanks for watching. And We'll talk to you soon.